When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there. Good morning. Good morning to you all. This is episode 49 of Join Up Dots. It's an absolute delight to have you with us again. And 16th of June, if you're listening to this live, it's the 16th of June. So we've got a couple of legends in their own right, really. I think it's the first time that I've ever had two ladies or two gentlemen on the show at one time. So they're probably going to run me around a bit, but I'll try my best to keep control of it all. Let's introduce you. Our guests today have been close friends since the middle of the 80s, when due to doing what most mums do, they met whilst ferrying their kids to school and back. And that simple connection led them on an entrepreneurial journey that perhaps they wouldn't have imagined as possible at the very beginning. Now, starting in the garage, looking at money-making ideas and projects, these two mums started researching home remedies, studied herbal properties, and used their families as guinea pigs for numerous concoctions. Over the years, they've acquired a file filled with business cards that they've created for one idea after another, and they've run a newspaper, produced original murder mystery dinner events, operated an advertising and PR firm, and generally sizzled with endless ideas. And I actually took this phrase directly from their website, as I loved it, had never heard it before, but it seems so apt for a show like this. Even a blind pig eventually finds an acorn. And due to the ever-expanding production line of grandchildren, they decided they wanted to find candy, or sweets as we call them in the UK, that they would be happy with their loved ones eating. And it seems that so many people wanted the same thing, and that blind pig had found its acorn. And that pig started running and running. It was quite an excited pig, it seems. And now these two amazing ladies have a company called Ice Chips Candy, which led them to being contestants on the American version of the UK show Dragon's Den, which is called Shark Tank. So did it work for them? Did they gain the investment that they sought? Are they pleased that they tried so many things on their way to finding their thing in life? Well, let's find out as we discuss Ice Chips Candy, the Shark Tank, and of course joining up dots with the amazing powerhouse couple that are Bev Vines-Haines and Charlotte Clary. How are you today, ladies?
We're great, thank you.
What is life like for you at the moment? Because, you know, with the greatest respect, when you came into my life, I got advised that you were known as the Grannies, which is a kind of bit insulting, really. But you're obviously not sort of easing into granny life. You seem to be speeding up.
Oh, absolutely. When we went on Shark Tank, we let the audience know and the sharks that we had 37 grandchildren. That has ramped up. And now we have 41 grandkids between us. This is Charlotte, actually, just so you know.
So which one of you is the big producer? Obviously not yourself, but...
Bev, I have 26 of the 41.
And I'm trying to do the maths, right? Okay. And, well, I've got one grandson myself, so we're... I'm a bit behind you, but at least I can go with the granny and the granddad theme. So with your life, ladies, if we go right back in time, you met when you were first at school.
Right. Our sons were, this is Bev, our sons were friends, I think it was 7th grade, and rode the school bus together. And because good moms like to know who their kids are hanging out with, Charlotte came to meet me.
And what did you think, Charlotte?
Well, I thought it was interesting because she was on the same road as I. She just lived farther back in the country in kind of an unsettling spot yet. And I thought, oh, she's risking things. I'm going to like her.
She was a free spirit, was she?
Oh, yes. Takes one to know one.
Well, we had pigs. I mean, we had all animals. I have no idea now how many animals we had, all named after J.R.R. Tolkien's Hobbit characters.
And did you think you had more animals than grandchildren?
Probably. At that time, I only had one grandchild, so that's easy.
So whereabouts is life for you in there? Are you still surrounded by sort of rural animals and farms and things like that?
Oh, yes. In fact, Bev's husband Larry brought me another batch of fresh farm eggs this morning from Bev's chickens. And we were out hunting for the elk around our facility here last night at dusk, because they come out every once in a while.
And so where is home for you?
We live in a little town called Yelm, Washington, and it is very rural. We do have elk. We one time had a bull elk looking in our back door just trying to smell the candy. So it is very rural. Our shop looks out on beautiful Mount Rainier, and it's just a small town, and we love living here.
We're in Washington State.
So that's sort of Seattle way, is it?
Yes.
Right. We're about 70 miles or so south of Seattle.
Right, okay. I've got you in my map. So you have been sort of garage producers of industry for years and years and years. So can you remember the first thing that sort of pricked your interest and the two of you joined forces?
Let's see. Was it the Impeccable Paper?
Right. We wrote a little newspaper, just a bunch of stories, and distributed them around our community.
Kind of anonymously, actually.
Why? Were you ashamed?
No. We just, it was a bit of a take on a local New Age group.
Right, okay. And so why go undercover when doing that? I'm fascinated by that.
I don't know why we went undercover. It was just fun. Everybody liked them. And we moved from there into a full-blown newspaper we did for a while. And then Murder, Mystery, Dinner, Theater. Always something to do with writing, it seems.
And were they just fun things to do, or were you looking for an additional income?
No, actually, we were doing a lot of volunteer work at our church, and the newspaper was just an idea we had of how to put out positive news in a day and an age where all the news is so negative. So we would put out this 32-page tabloid of good stories, good life stories from people in the area, and just fun-filled facts. We put it out to 15,000 people here 4 times in a year. That was always interesting because that was before computers do everything they do now. So it was a lot of hand layout, and there's wild stories on that. But we did that, and then we did the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater as a way to raise funds for our Christian school, private school. And we took that out into the community, and that's how we made big bucks for the school and had so much fun doing it.
Well, good on you. Yeah, a bit of volunteering goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yep.
Is that an unusual thing? Because in the sort of United Kingdom, I've been more aware of people volunteering now. Maybe they've always been volunteering. I've never really noticed it. But it seems to be a sort of more prevalent now than it's ever been.
Oh, that may be. We have always enjoyed doing it in many different jobs we had. And I think we were always looking for that job that would pay our way and help our husbands out. But we ended up doing most of it for free and learning a lot as we went.
What were the big mistakes that you made running through? Because obviously the thing about Join Up Dots is you get on this show because you've had a level of success, but you've obviously had failures and stumbles along the way. Can you remember any sort of ideas that you look back now and you think, what were we thinking?
Well, honestly, we've had so many little business cards between us and separately that didn't work out, but we were asked at one of the areas where we were speaking recently, how did we handle all those failures? And that was the first time I thought about it, and that was the honest first time I thought, wow, we never ever considered those failures. That word never even crossed our path. We considered them just what we do, and you pick up whatever skill you learned with that attempt and put that skill in your pocket because you're going to need it farther down the road. And that's how we've learned to do everything we've learned to do to this point, actually.
You know, that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. And that's what so many people need to learn. So was that just inherently in you that you didn't consider that any of those were failures? Because so many people will get to a certain point, it doesn't quite work, and then they stop. and they go, oh, it's just not going to work. But you never considered that. You just thought, okay, just move on. It was a stepping stone to something bigger.
Right. We're pretty optimistic, upbeat women, and we never really did consider anything a failure. We just looked at all we learned from it. It was doing all these different projects that taught us how to be extremely computer literate at an age where some people felt left out from the new technology. But we were training very early on those wisdoms and applications.
I would like to interject. I think one of the things that Bev and I have going for us is we've never been, per se, goal-oriented. We enjoy the moment, and the moment just leads to another moment, and we just enjoy each one of them and see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But you must have a kind of plan. You can't just sort of be waking up every morning and jumping on the first thing that comes into your mind, surely.
Well, no. Now we have many plans and many demands and many things we have to do. But back in the day when we were jumping from one idea to the next, we were pretty flexible.
So where did it all start, though? The actual success that you're on now. Can you join up those dots and think, yeah, ice chips candy, which is the big thing. Which is sort of taking you into a different level. Was there a point when that idea first came into your head?
We had a company for 12 years now where we made all natural skin condition products. So we still sell a lot of that stuff, but in the midst of it, we got the idea we wanted to find a healthy candy for 41 grandchildren. So we knew xylitol was extremely healthy for their teeth and diabetics could eat it, and we just knew it was good. It was the good for you candy. So we tried to figure out how to make it. We got a recipe in our own heads, tried it, it worked, and within a week, easily within 1 week, we knew we had that once-in-a-lifetime product that our lives would never be the same again.
Because I actually find it surprising that idea wasn't around beforehand. When it came to you, did you think, oh, somebody must have done this already, it's just I'm not aware of it?
Well, we were actually purchasing some candy for the kids made with xylitol, but it wasn't the high-grade xylitol that we use. It was with genetically modified corn, so we realized we could not give that to the kids. We couldn't find it anywhere else, so we looked at each other and said, do we have to do this too?
Yeah.
And really the motivation was quality for the kids.
And what do your kids think of them?
Oh.
They love it. All kids really love ice chips.
Yeah, their friends at school are always wanting them to score with the Grannies and bring some into school. It's a hit.
They're like dealers. Your kids have become dealers.
Yes,
indeed they have.
You have put them on a path already. Do you realise? So when you got the call to the Shark Tank, was that the first time that the media had become interested? I don't actually understand how that works. Do you request to go on it, or do they find out about you and then contact you?
Well, our daughter-in-law wrote into Shark Tank, but once they liked her letter about us, they researched us online. They knew quite a bit about us the day they called. And the day they called, we were already talking with a television station that wanted to do a video on us. And Bev has a little on that story. I'll let her tell that story.
Charlotte and I disagree about the proper etiquette of cell phones. I say if you're in a meeting or out to dinner, don't answer the cell phone. Charlotte, on the other hand, believes it's the extension of her hand, so when it rings, she answers. And we were in a meeting with a TV station, her cell phone rang, she answered, and then she kept trying to mouth to me, it's Shark Tank. So finally she said, hey, I'll have to call you back. We're talking to a TV station right now. And she hung up on Shark Tank. I do believe they probably find 30% of the entrepreneurs they use, and we were in that 30%.
So it's only a small percentage that actually get on that show then?
In season 4 that we were on, they had interviewed 31,800 some people, and they picked 96 of us.
And what was it about you two, with the greatest respect, what was about your product that they liked?
Well, I don't know about the product. What they liked about us was we were the first duo of really highly successful women of a certain age that they had, and we already were making a lot of money, and they liked that. And we knew all of our numbers, we knew our margins, we knew everything about our company. And the product actually is wonderful, so it was easy for us to get a deal.
Why though? Why did you want a deal particularly with Shark Tank? Because I see the sort of English version, the Dragon's Den, and I think to myself, there must be loads of businessmen not on that program that would be more interested than the 5 or the 6 who sit there with the money in front of them.
What's really interesting is those loads of businessmen pop out of the woodwork as soon as you've been on the show and you make a deal. They don't seem to know we exist until you appear on Shark Tank.
It's as simple as that then, is it? As it puts you in the shop window?
Yes, yes.
And it's the most incredible PR you will ever get in your life. Even if you don't get a deal, businesses skyrocket in success once they have appeared on Shark Tank.
So give us an indication of what happened then. Before you went on there, what were the kind of sales like of Ice Chips candy?
The day we filmed, we were up to $352,000 that year, and that was July 15th when we filmed. And then after the filming, there was another 3 months before we actually aired. We were hoping to do $1 million that year, but we did $1 million because of the appearance on the show. The appearance on the show brought us in an extra $300,000 in the 7 weeks after the show. And then we did that again when the show re-aired in May.
And does it cost you anything to actually go on the show?
No.
God, that's a win-win, isn't it?
They pay for your hotel, they pay for your airfare. They are extremely generous. It was a fabulous experience.
And which one of the sharks did you take a fancy to? Was there one that sort of winked at you as you walked on?
Well, 4 of the 5 tried to make a deal with us, and we made deal with Mark Cuban and Barbara Corcoran.
Oh, and you actually went through and you signed off the deal, and that was it. They're still with you now, are they?
Well, on the show, it's a gentleman's agreement, and then there's a lot of due diligence, both directions. And they saw a little thing with us that they didn't really like, and then we were catching on that we were feeling they were kind of getting a little pushy for our likes. And so we agreed to disagree and didn't go through with it. And now we're very, very thankful that we didn't, but we're just as thankful for the opportunity and what it has brought us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's it, isn't it? You go up there, you do your pitch, America watches, you walk off, keep all control of your own business, don't let the sharks have any of it, and bang, promotion.
Absolutely.
That's what happened.
And we had agreed to give them 40%, and that was not very feeling good about 6 weeks after we'd done it. So getting our 40% back was delightful.
No, I can imagine that. Do they ever ask you to go back on again? Is there like a kind of champions Shark Tank?
They have already been up here and filmed one update, and they've inquired about another one. So they pretty much stay in touch with the people that have appeared.
So let's take you back, because the theme of the show is loosely based around Steve Jobs' speech of 2005, when he talks about not knowing your path in life until you look back and you connect the dots. And that's why we call the show Join Up Dots. And I'm going to play the speech now, and then I'm just going to ask your feelings about it, of whether it's relevant to you, whether it's relevant to how your life has been, and whether now you can actually look back and you can join those dots up. You can connect those successes. You can connect those failures as well that has led you to this path. So I'm going to bring Steve Jobs on now, and I'm going to play this, and then I'm just going to talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
So what do you think about that, ladies? Is that true? Do you think those words are relevant to your life?
Oh, I love it, and I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
We are very trusting, so it is a good thing that only good things have been happening for us.
So is there anything when you look back, and I called it the big dot, and sometimes the big dot could be something that's bad that's happened in your life, where you look back and you go, thank God that was an awful time in my life because it's pushed me on here? Or has it always been the case that pretty much the two of you have gone with the flow and good things have flown to you because of your positive outlook?
We're both positive in our outlook. I think my life has been more, hearts, rainbows, butterflies. Bev's has probably been a little harder. So I'm the eternal optimist, and I always find the silver lining. And Bev flips the cloud over and looks for it, and she finds it eventually.
Do you have to look hard for it though?
No.
Not now.
No, not now. And I think we're both extremely creative. We at one point had created as many as 100 products. And we just don't have enough time to promote that much good, great products at this time. But the dots for me are the fact that everything we've done has taken us one more step down the yellow brick road, and every dot has been something we put in our arsenal and used the next time we had an idea.
You know, I love that, and that really is the whole vibe of the whole show, that you've just got to keep trying. You've got to get out there. You've got to take action. You've got to connect with people. You need to get up an hour earlier or go to bed an hour later and, and take action and take proactive action. And it's got to get somewhere, isn't it? It's cause and effect.
Exactly.
I think we always have had the thought that something would work out, something would come to fruition. And we never, ever had let's don't do this again. I'm so discouraged. We've never done that. We just have always just kept going and looking for the next dot.
When do you give up, though, on certain things that you think to yourself aren't working? You haven't taken them as a failure, which is brilliant, but there's a time when you kind of go, right, this, no matter how much effort I put into this, I don't think this is the right thing for us. How do you make that decision?
We're actually at that juncture right now, and we have to expand our business because we're simply out of space. And we desperately wanted to stay in our sweet little town, but it probably isn't going to happen. So we are accepting the fact that there's no building big enough and zoned correctly for us to move into. So we're going to have to move a few miles away. And so realistically, when the odds and the facts are just not lining up, you have to change your vision.
And honestly, this is the first time we've been facing something this monumental to progress. Anything else has been so small, we just make a quick adjustment and move on. This one's bigger.
Right. We did not want to leave our little town, but we also want a successful business, and we love our employees, and we don't want to do anything to affect anyone's job. So, faced with the truth, we simply agreed to move a little bit further away.
Does it scare you, though, when the business, because to begin with, it's a cottage industry, and then it gets to the point that it gets so big that you're hiring people, and then maybe the fun that was in the trying at the beginning becomes more real. Does it frighten you that the business is getting bigger and bigger, or does it just invigorate you?
It doesn't scare us. It just changes the culture of the business itself. And I think that's what's hard for us, because we like the current culture, but we can't stay in the current culture. It'd be like trying to drive a Volkswagen van with flowers on it now. It just doesn't work. So we have to be able to move on.
I don't think you have to move on from a Volkswagen with flowers, do you?
I think so.
I went up to Woodstock once in upper New York State, and they're still driving those around. They haven't left those behind at all.
It's like having teenagers. That's why you get babies as babies, because none of us know how to raise a teenager when we start with a baby. And this business has become a teenager. And so thank God we had all the training when it was a baby.
Do you think it would have scared you if you had looked back at a time and realised where you are now? Did you think you would have just embraced it, or would you have gone, "Oh, blimey, this is going to be big"?
We've asked ourselves that. We've said, "Gosh, what would we have done in the beginning had we known what was going to happen?" I think we would have still done it, but I'm glad that we didn't know how big it was going to get.
Because that's the thing that frightens so many people, or stops them before they even start. When they think of the big picture, the end product, they'll be sitting at their desks with this idea, this dream, this ambition, but it's too big for them to even start moving in that direction.
I think at our age, we have the advantage of gone through enough projects and enough life to know that when you look ahead at the big picture, that's kind of unfruitful, because the big picture never becomes what you thought you were going to look at. Exactly. So you have to just go with it every day and build it puzzle piece by puzzle piece.
Do you coach people? Are you mentors for sort of younger, upcoming entrepreneurs?
Yes, we are. In fact, there's a group coming tomorrow that's made it as far as a Shark Tank video release, and they want some mentoring. We do that in some of our speaking engagements too, where we just in the speaking speak to the younger women, speak to younger people, kind of mentor on the spot, even in our speeches.
Yeah, and the Ivy League schools, plus many, many other colleges, have Shark Tank as a required watching. And we do a lot of speaking to high school business classes and college classes. So that surprised me how much call we would have to high school and college business kids.
Which is the strange thing, isn't it? How one thing can lead on to another. You can't perceive that you would be going back into the classroom and almost teaching these kids. But opportunities will come your way.
That did not, yes, that just shocked us. And it's been so interesting to find the different niches that want us to speak that we appeal to.
Well, I can see why you appeal, because you are... you're unusual. With the greatest respect, you're quite unusual. I would have thought that two ladies of a certain age, I'm treading carefully here, are, as I say, right at the very beginning of the introduction, almost, it seems, speeding up when most people would want to be sort of hitting the golf course or looking after the grandkids, and you seem to be able to balance all of that.
I think if there was anything that scared me, this is Bev, personally, I would say the idea of going into college classrooms with people who have big vision, big dream, and enormous potential, and having to speak to them was pretty daunting. But we have been so well received, it doesn't bother me anymore at all. I realize that we do have some small thing to offer to them.
Well, what frightened you, though, at the beginning? Because I can well imagine it was frightening when you walked in there and you looked up at all those faces looking down at you. Was it that you were not worthy enough, or they were going to ask you questions that you couldn't answer? What was the fear?
I find young people who are really on track and very knowledgeable can be a little bit intimidating when you think they're going to look at you and go, what does she know that we could possibly learn from? So being able to relate and then finding out we could relate was really wonderful.
And how did you do that? How did you relate? How did you break that barrier down, that mental barrier you had?
Because when they ask questions about business, running a business and figuring out the math, the margins, everything involved, we always knew the answers. And they are the ones that have a little bit of intimidation about moving forward and looking at that big picture you mentioned.
What was it like being in a young Shark Tank?
That one, that's where I say it. That was terrifying fun. And we felt all week when we were down there filming, we could feel the young eyes and that young energy, just gorgeous young people around us, kind of patting us on the heads and putting up with us. And then when it came time, the day that we filmed, we literally cleaned the clocks of the young people there.
and they stood back and bathed in your glory.
Yes,
Well,
kind of.
in a gracious way.
Do you think they underestimated you, Ben?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
We
yes.
always say they probably thought we had some crocheted doilies or some little doll project, and they were just being sweet, kind, and courteous, but they did not expect us to be the ones that got a deal that day.
Is that a selling point to you, that people probably do underestimate you? Does it give you a head start on other people?
It sharpens the end of our spear, that's for sure.
We do like to see them have a turnaround in attitude.
What's the worst attitude you've had?
The worst we personally have had.
Yeah. Have you ever kind of gone to somebody, look, I just don't like your attitude, and walked out on anyone?
No.
No,
You're too well raised.
Well, we're also at the age where we just look at that and quietly laugh to ourselves
Yeah.
and let it roll.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm getting to that age myself now. So where is Ice Chips Candy going to go? You're moving, obviously, to bigger premises. Unfortunately, you're leaving your hometown. But is it something that is going to be, an American-based business, or is it going global? Perhaps it's already global. Well, where's it aiming?
It's going to end up being both. We know that we will be manufacturing here, but we also know that we'll be licensing and satellite manufacturing in other locations in the world.
And how do you manage that, the two of you? You obviously have a management team that operates on your behalf, or is it all the two of you?
A management team now that pretty much consists of us, our husbands, and a financial guy that's with us that we've actually known for years, that's kind of steering us in some of those deep canyons that we haven't been through before. And
Charlotte and I do not necessarily do anything before the need arises. Now, after all these years and having to learn to cope with the FDA and the Department of Agriculture and inspections, and we're completely, they love us. We have not had any bad problems, but now we have lawyers and we have a CPA. I mean, we've grown, just like that baby grown to a teenager, we have grown into this level of business.
Well, I'm in awe of the two of you. I really am, for taking on the sharks and taking on the businessmen and keeping in control of it. I think that's that was the huge win-win, wasn't it? Not losing your 40%.
oh
Yes. Very delightful. We have still not borrowed any money. We're still completely taking care of all of it on just our sales.
So this is the $1 million question, really. But it seems to me, from what you're saying, would you recommend people to go on to Shark Tank but just not go for the money, just go for the promotion?
No, my recommendation is each company that gets on the show, if you have an opportunity, take it. Get on the show. There's so many other companies we've seen that we are happy for them that they made deals, and sometimes the sharks took a large percentage of their company, but they were in a position where if they hadn't gone on the show, they didn't have enough behind them to know what to do next, and the sharks really helped them. It's an individual basis, but anybody that can get on the show, go.
But I do think this, I don't think anybody ever should go on the show just hoping for that 15-minute commercial and with every intention of not playing fair and not taking a deal if it was offered. We went on wanting a deal, thrilled we got a deal, and a little bit saddened when our deal didn't go through.
Well, I've got a gentleman coming on the show in about another 6 episodes, actually. I've already recorded, but he's coming in after you. And he runs a company called Henry's Humdingers, which is like a honey with spices in. And I think he was the youngest chap to go on the Shark Tank when he was about 16 or something.
I know about that. Oh, he's already been on Shark Tank?
Yeah, he's been on, and he accepted a deal, but then in negotiations afterwards, the deal fell through. But yeah, I've got your episode 49. I think he's about episode 55, so he's coming on shortly. But yeah, he's a 17-year-old chap and running his own company and doing great stuff. Amazing at his age.
Great. Yeah, he was very charming.
Yeah, he was charming. I can imagine. And apparently, he got a lot of marriage proposals, and I can quite see why.
Oh, yes.
He's the kind of young man you want your son to grow up like. Well, ladies, it's that part of the show, really, that we like to call the sermon on the mic. And this is the bit when one of you gets whizzed back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger selves. And what kind of advice would you give the younger versions of you if you could go back and find them just before Ice Chips Candy started rearing its head? Or maybe it's a much younger version of you, who knows? But this is the sermon on the mic. When the music plays out, I'm going to stay totally quiet and you're up. Okay.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Well, this is Bev speaking to young Bev. And I just want you to know that this is a wonderful world and there are enormous opportunities. And the one thing that'll hold you back is a lack of belief in yourself. You have to trust opportunities, believe that you are operating the best you can in the gifts you have. We started out as a writer, still I'm a writer all these years later. Best occupation I think there could ever be, because the people reading your work don't know your gender, they don't know your age, they just are going to read your words and see what wisdom that you are able to bring to them. So the whole world is wide open to you, Bev, if you will just believe in your talent, believe in your calling, and write and quit failing to send it in. That's what I'd say.
Do you think those words apply to everyone, Bev?
Yes. I think everyone who looks back realizes that if they could have trusted, not been intimidated, not been afraid, just boldly walked forth with a smile and confidence, that everything in their life would have been stronger, better, and more successful.
That is the perfect words to finish this episode. It really is. I'd like to thank you so much, both of you, for being on the show today and taking time with us today, joining up those dots. I love the fact that you've never looked at any of the things that you've done as failures. I love the fact that you'll keep on pushing forward and you're trying new markets and you're taking Ice Chips Candy to the bigger level. And I just love the fact that you two are around on this planet, because I think there should be more people like you doing some amazing things and inspiring the youth of the classroom to, take it from the classroom and really get into the world.
Well, thank you.
This has been delightful.
It's been delightful to have you on here as well. So thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, as I believe the only way to build our futures is by connecting our pasts. Bev and Charlotte, thank you so much.
Thank you.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.